Every great decision begins with a question. For decades, CEOs have been expected to have the answers, to make sense of complexity, navigate uncertainty, and make decisions that can shape the future of their organizations. But what happens when the CEO no longer has to navigate that complexity alone? Artificial intelligence is evolving rapidly, and it is moving beyond simply automating tasks or helping us work faster. It is beginning to influence how organizations think, analyze, strategize, and make decisions. Which brings us to an important question. What does leadership look like when CEO can work alongside a new generation of AI powered experts? Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's exclusive masterclass on CEOs in the age of AI. I'm Ronald Sarmiento, Senior Program Counselor at the University of Manchester, Dubai, and it is my pleasure to be your host this evening. Whether you are an aspiring leader, entrepreneur, finance professional, business executive, or simply interested in how artificial intelligence is transforming the way organizations operate, we hope tonight's sessions will give you new perspectives on what leadership could look like in an AI driven world. I am very pleased to be joined this evening by my co host, Pia Salvan, Program Counselor at the University of Manchester, Dubai.
Thank you, Ronald, and good evening, everyone. What makes today's conversation particularly interesting is that we are not simply asking, what can AI do? We are asking a much bigger question. What happens when AI becomes part of the way organizations think and make decisions? Tonight, we'll explore how emerging AI capabilities may augment decision making, reshape strategy and organizational design, and create new possibilities, as well as new questions around leadership, accountability, and governance. And as we explore these ideas, we invite you to think not only about what this could mean for CEOs and organizations, but also about what it could mean for you and your own professional journey. We're delighted that you've chosen to spend this evening with us. But before we officially begin tonight's masterclass, we'd like to take a moment to introduce the institution behind this learning experience. With a proud heritage dating back to 1824 and a founding member of the prestigious Russell Group, the University of Manchester is built on a legacy of world's firsts. It is a global powerhouse of innovation, proudly associated with 26 Nobel Prize winners and revolutionary milestones like splitting the atom and the discovery of graphene. Today, that same standard of excellence shapes Alliance Manchester Business School, where we translate cutting edge research into practical boardroom execution. Beyond rankings, we are especially proud that the University of Manchester is ranked number 1 in the world in the Times Higher Education Impact Rankings, recognizing our commitment to creating meaningful change through education, research, innovation, and social responsibility. Tonight, we are reminded that true leadership isn't just about what you know. It's about the positive impact you leave behind. That relentless spirit of excellence is deeply rooted right here in our region. Since the University of Manchester Dubai's establishment in 2006, we have been empowering professionals across the region with a world-class education. This year, we are incredibly proud to celebrate 20 years of excellence stronger together, honoring the incredibly diverse community and powerful global network we've built across our students and alumni. Through our internationally recognized master's, MBA, and executive education programs, we continue to develop leaders who make a meaningful impact. And most recently, our official institutional licensure and program accreditation in the UAE further reaffirm our unyielding commitment to delivering the absolute highest standards of academic excellence. And now, for everyone who are not quite ready to commit to a full 2-year program yet, our executive education programs offer the perfect flexible alternative. Designed for fast moving managers and leaders, these courses are delivered in an intensive face to face format over just 4 to 5 days. What makes this track unique is its modular flexibility. So each course can be taken individually to solve an immediate business need, or it can also be combined over time to achieve a prestigious Manchester Professional Diploma in Leadership. Participants will also receive a digital recognition for each course completed, making it a flexible and impactful way to accelerate your professional standing. And investment for these specialized courses begins up to 5,500 sterling pounds per module, giving you world-class Manchester expertise on a schedule that respects your time. So kindly see here, please, the next set of courses and avail 15% discount. I'll give you a few more seconds to, of course, scan it.
Thank you, Pia. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our academic who will take us deeper into this conversation. He is a senior lecturer in economics, digital economy, AI, and strategy at Alliance Manchester Business School, the University of Manchester. His teaching and research interests span artificial intelligence, digital transformation, strategy, managerial decision making, and the impact of emerging technologies on organizations. He teaches across undergraduate, MBA, and executive education programs, and was recognized as the University of Manchester's Faculty of Humanities Teacher of the Year in 2024 for his innovative approach to teaching and student engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Reza Salehnejad. Good evening, Doctor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ronald. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good.
Just give me a second.
Could I share my slide now?
Yes, sir, you may.
Fantastic. Give me a moment, please. Good. So you see my slide now, am I right? Ronald, could you see my slide?
Yes, Dr. Reza, we can see it now.
Okay, fantastic. Good evening to everyone. So as basically my colleague mentioned, today the topic that we have is CEO in the age of AI. Is a kind of a topic that at the moment there's not much basically literature about it, but the literature start emerging. But it's a fascinating topic. So I'm going to give you a broad picture of the literature, what's going on, and then there are some basically conclusion how the CEO's function would look like in the future. So because of a good number of the slides, I'm going to go quite quickly without much introduction, but hopefully as the discussion progresses, you see the plan of basically the plan that I have for this lecture. So a little bit about the traditional literature on the CEOs, the key functions of the CEOs, and how CEOs basically spend their time. That's what I'm going to do. And then a very brief introduction to AI and what basically how we should think of a recent wave of basically frontier models. And then some of the research that we have on the impact of AI on strategic decision making and on the function or on CEO functions. And then I'm going to basically draw some major, really recent lessons that we have learned from the literature about the CEOs and what type of function, managerial function, become quite critical in the future. That's the kind of a discussion that I'm going to have. As I said, the literature is quite new. Most of the papers that we have on this topic have been basically published over the last 1 or 2 years, and the ideas and the discussion is not settled, but still there are plenty actually to learn from the recent wave of the literature. So that's what basically that's the plan for the discussion. Okay. So those who have done MBA or those who have basically been exposed to managerial decision making, they have a good understanding of the key functions of the CEOs. So the CEOs, along with the top management team, they basically define corporate purpose. They set the long-term objective and goals of the firm, and basically they set the strategic direction of the firm. That's the first basically function of the CEO. Another important function of the CEO that is mentioned in the literature has to do with the optimal resource allocation. So a firm has limited resources. How do you basically optimally allocate resources between different activities? That's another major function of the CEOs. So deploying financial capital, allocating human capital or physical asset to optimal basically functions in the firm. That's another important duty or basically function of the CEOs. Designing the firm, basically designing the structure of the firm, the top management team, the management practices in the organization. That is the literature mentioned as the third function of the CEOs. There are many other basically functions that the CEOs play and do, but these are some of the most important ones. Another function of the CEO that is quite critical and increasingly become critical in the age of AI is about selecting talent, motivating and coordinating senior managers. These are some of the functions. So the question that we have, the kind of question that we're going to discuss is that how the frontier models, AI models, are likely to transform these key functions of top management team. That's the kind of a question that we're going to reflect on it and look at the data and the literature to see how these functions will be transformed as AI makes further basically progress. So that's my first point. So the first for my discussion, the first basically element that is important to keep in mind are the key basically top level functions of the CEOs. That's what we are basically interested in. So another dimension that I'm interested in and is important to actually pay attention to it. These are the key functions of the CEO. These are at the theory level. Conceptual level. That's how we define the key functions of the CEOs. But what about reality? How does the CEO spend their time, and which type of functions CEO devote more time to it? There are multiple basically beautiful studies that trace CEO and the shadow CEOs to actually understand and document how CEOs spend their time. One of the classic papers that we have, short papers that we have, comes actually from Porter and his co-researchers that they shadowed 27 CEOs over 68,000 hours. And the purpose was to understand how actually CEOs in real life, they spend basically their time. What came out of that study is that 72% of the total time that the CEO spent in the firm are in the meeting. So so if a CEO has 100 hours per week, 72 hours of basically that 100 hours are spent in meetings. So meetings is one of the key basically ways that the CEO spend their time. And only they have 8% of their time. Only 28% of their time are solo time that basically devoted to reflection and independent strategic analysis. So one of the key findings, I'm going to report other literature that we have on this topic, is that CEOs have limited basically time to reflect and basically devote to a strategic thinking and designing strategies. That's a very important finding in the literature. There is another piece of research that's really fascinating piece of research by 3 researchers, Bandiera, basically, and others, published in 2020, and they looked at the diaries of the CEOs, basically more than 1,000 CEOs, and to understand how CEOs devote basically and allocate their time. Again, what basically came out of that study, that what basically we see is that 70% of the time, CEO time, are devoted to meetings or spent in meetings. So 70% of CEO time are spent in meetings. So 60% of these basically time are by the internal basically meeting, so by the basically direct report, basically business unit heads or other managers within the firm, and the rest is basically by meeting with the external. So again, this study complement Michael Porter's studies. So more than 70% of CEO time are spent in meetings with managers and with other basically stakeholders in the firm or outside the firm. So that's the picture that emerged in this basically research. The share of time that in the meeting is almost basically is close to 60%. Communications, another 10 or basically 5%. Plant visit, another basically 5 or 10%. These are basically how the CEO spend time. But working alone, that is essential for basically a strategic design and reflection, is quite basically limited. It's around 20%, 25% of CEO are basically CEO time are devoted to a long-term objective of the firm, designing a strategy or thinking about a long-term direction of the firm. So this is an important finding in the literature, that in reality, CEOs do not have much time for basically reflection, deep thinking, and thinking about the future direction of the firm. That's limited. Another, idea that basically discussed in this paper, this is a major paper by researchers from Harvard and London School of Economics, LSE. This is a major paper, and it has been focus of much discussion. Another important finding in this paper is this. So the researchers, they identified 2 types of CEOs: CEOs who are like basically acting like managers, and CEOs who are acting like leaders. So manager CEOs, they focus on operational details and one-to-one task tracking, but leader CEOs that have the characteristics of leadership characteristics, they focus on high-level cross-functional coordination, and they focus on high-level strategy. So another basically a very important distinction in this paper is the distinction between 2 types of CEOs: managerial CEOs that basically focus and devote their time to operational details, and then basically leader CEOs who act like leaders. These are those CEOs that they devote more time on high-level strategy. So in the data that they have, they use machine learning techniques, and by applying machine learning techniques, 2 types of CEO emerges: managers and leaders. But what is fascinating is this. So basically, CEOs who act like leaders are associated with higher basically firm performance. So firms that have CEOs that act like leaders, firms that have CEOs who act like leaders, this type of firm, they have higher growth, higher performance, higher profit margin. So CEO leaders are associated and are linked with what? With higher performance, higher growth, and higher basically profit margin. So this is this, as you can see, that basically basically the top line that we have. There's a positive relationship between like how close the CEO comes to being a leader and the firm performance in terms of sales and profit or employment profit per employee. How close basically the CEO comes to be a leader, that is positively related to performance. That's the kind of a summary of the literature. Let me basically summarize what I have been highlighting. So when you look at the basically CEOs in real life, most of the time that the CEO spend in the firm are devoted to meetings. The solo time that the firm have, which is essential for reflection and thinking about the long-term performance of the firm and strategic thinking, that is quite limited. It's something like between 25 to 28% of the CEO are solo wasted time, solo thinking. That's point one. Point two, what basically we see for what is really important for the performance of the firm is the high-level strategy. That's what comes out of the data, is high-level thinking. So on the one hand, CEOs in real life, they have limited time, they have limited managerial attention when it comes to thinking about the long-term performance of the firm. But what is really essential for the long-term performance of the firm is high-level strategy and high-level thinking and high-level reflection. So that's the challenge that we have in real life. So what basically we see here, there is a kind of basic word is there's a kind of a bottleneck here, and that's the limited managerial attention, limited time that the CEO have to spend on high-level strategy. Okay. So the question that we're going to discuss in a sense is that would AI be able to remove this constraint? So in real life, CEOs have limited time and limited managerial attention. Most of the time are in the meetings and basically low-level activities in the firm, and the amount of time that they have for high-level strategic thinking are very limited. So the question that we have, would actually AI enable the CEOs to maximize their time on high-level thinking and strategy design? That's the kind of question that I'm going to discuss. So also I need to mention that if you have any question, basically you can ask question in between as well. So I would be happy to, and not to go basically have some interruption in the middle. Any questions so far from the audience? Is there any question in the chat? Ronald?
So there
Yes,
is
sir. There's a question, Dr. Reza.
Yeah, it's good to basically discuss some of the question in between, and so that we don't have a continuous discussion. Yes, please.
Yes, doctor, here's the question. I wonder, to what extent do CEOs use AI to assist with decision making at the management level? And
So
how do we know that?
Yeah, we have some data on it, and that's what we're going to discuss. At the moment, is basically limited, but they have started. And we're going to discuss some really, systematic studies of this type of questions as the discussion progresses. Okay. Any other ones?
None so far.
Fantastic. Good. So that's the okay. We touch on that question as we progress. Is at some level, using Copilot, that's of course the majority of CEO basically use, or using basically cloud or basically ChatGPT. Almost everyone use it in one way or another. But what basically we are going to discuss is the systematic use of these frontier models for strategic thinking. That's the topic that we're going to touch on it. That's different than ordinary usage of AI. So ordinary usage of AI is, of course, widespread. Almost everyone uses it. But whether CEOs at the moment have the sophistication and the capability to use this AI system in a most sophisticated way, that's, I think the answer is no. Okay, let me, 2 or 3 minutes also discuss about what I think about AI and what we should think about AI, and then move on to the literature on basically AI and CEOs. Okay. So there are two types of, so AI in a sense, modern AI is based on machine learning. So AI is not a basically new concept. It started in 1956 in the US in a conference. And from 1956 to almost 2010, there were many approaches to develop the intelligent agent or intelligent system. But most of these efforts ended up with failure. But most progress that we have in AI started from 2010 onwards, and because we have a different approach to building intelligent basic system, and that's based on machine learning. So the modern AI that we're going to discuss in this lecture is basically built on machine learning, is based on machine learning. And machine learning is a prediction technology. It basically explore vast data and identify patterns in those data, and then use those patterns to make prediction. So for that reason, because modern AI is based on machine learning, AI is also a prediction technology. The literature distinguishes between two different types of AI. One is basically predictive AI, and the other one is generative AI. In predictive AI, for example, we give the characteristics of a patient into a system, and we're going to predict, for example, what disease that person have or what illness that person have. That's an example of predictive AI. Today, we're going to focus on generative AI. And generative AI is also a kind of predictive AI, but in a different way. In generative AI, very quickly, we train a system on text, images, voice, the math formula, computer codes. These are the kind of data that goes into the system, into the machine learning engine. But we're going to what is the output? What we try to predict is again another piece of text and the image, voice, math, and computer codes. So in generative AI, what goes into machine learning engine or AI agent engine are text and or what a type of content. But what we try to predict is a different type of, is again, and the output is also content. So we try to predict text, we try to predict relevant images, voice, math formula. That's the idea that underpin rest of my discussion. What is really critical, and this is another important point that I'm going to highlight, and I think this is quite critical for everyone, is this, that what is the reason behind the recent rapid advances in AI, that is quite critical for the discussion that we have, is the paradigm that we have behind modern AI. So the basic, the philosophy behind modern AI is this, that we can basically split a complex task into simple prediction tasks and do these predictions one by one to accomplish and to basically to achieve that complex task. Look at the sentence, for example, at the bottom of this basic page. The sentence at the bottom of this page is reasonably a complex sentence when we compare to basically to the sentence at the top of the page. So imagine at the top of the page we have a sentence that is this sentence is incomplete. We want to complete this sentence. The philosophy behind modern AI is this, that this completion task that we have, the task that we want to complete this sentence, can be split into multiple smaller prediction tasks, and we basically sequentially we make these prediction and then complete the sentence. So for example, first we predict what is the word that comes after to, and then next we predict what is the word that comes after create, and next predict what is the word that comes after basically word, and then so on and on. We have a set of sequential prediction, and in this way we complete the sentence. So this is the key reason behind modern key reason behind the advancement behind modern AI, that basically we split a complex activity into simple prediction tasks, and then we do these simple basic prediction tasks step by step, and in this way we complete in this case a sentence, or we complete a paragraph, or we complete the page. Is that has given AI the capability to deal with complex problems. So modern AI, as you can see, can deal with complex problem. But how modern AI has been able to basically deal with complex problem is because it split the complex basically activity into simpler activity and simpler prediction tasks, and then step by step complete basically the full task. Okay. So one more thing before basically moving to the managerial side of the discussion. So that's the AI. Another basically reason for the power that we see behind the frontier models, and the reason that the frontier models are so powerful and they can tackle many different activities quite effectively and successfully, is that AI system, generative AI system like ChatGPT, like Gemini, they can work with other tools that we developed in the past. So, for example, we have Excel. Excel is a powerful tool, but generative AI, ChatGPT, can work with Excel. Gemini can work with Excel. We develop Python. We develop basically mathematical software. These, AI system can communicate and work with these tools, and these tools have added to the power and the capability of this system. Okay. So, okay, what is the outcome? Okay, that was the kind of okay. So what is the outcome? So the outcome is basically this. As a consequence of this frontier model, we have abundant intelligence. So one thing that is happening is this. So in the past, intelligence was scarce. Intelligent individuals were something scarce. But these frontier models, what is the outcome of this frontier model? What is the consequence of this frontier model is abundant intelligence. Look at this sentence in blue, in green, from Catalini, from basically MIT. The bottleneck is giving way. So in the past, what was the bottlenecks in progress was intelligence. Intelligence was something scarce. But what these AI systems are doing, they're making intelligence quite abundant and quite cheap, and everyone has access to it. That's the idea. So the question that we're going to ask, imagine basically intelligence become quite abundant, and everyone has access to intelligent systems. Then the question that we have, how it is abundant intelligence or access to highly intelligent system would change the job of the CEO? That's the question that we have. So the kind of question that we're going to discuss is this: how completely frontier models can perform analytical knowledge work that the CEO basically deal with it. How effectively do frontier AI models perform open-ended analytical work? Most of the challenges that the CEO basically deal with it are not like chess. Chess basically has certain rules, and the rules are well known, and each basically adopt this limited number of moves at each stage. But when it comes to strategic decisions are quite open-ended. So it doesn't have any rule. And the environment is uncertain. The future is quite uncertain. These are open-ended questions that we have. CEOs actually deal not with a situation like chess. They deal with more complex situation when it's open-ended and the alternatives and options are not known. There's enormous uncertainty about future. So the kind of question that we're going to discuss is this: how effectively do frontier AI models perform open-ended analytical knowledge work? That the CEOs basically deal with it. Okay.
Excuse me, Professor, just to interrupt you
Yes,
a
please.
little bit. We do have some questions from our
Yes, please.
attendees.
Go ahead.
May I ask Mohammed Kamal to unmute himself, please? Mohammed? Mohammed Kamal? Hello? We cannot hear you, Mohammed.
Yes. Is it?
Okay.
You can hear it, yeah?
Yes, you have a question, Mr. Mohammed.
Actually, it wasn't a question. It was it's like a reflection, actually.
Go ahead, Denise.
On
Go ahead.
yeah. What was Mr. Reza saying? Because basically, I'm assistant general manager. Like I'm not CEO yet, but I'm struggling also with time. I believe this is everybody's problem, not CEO actually. So when we see you saying CEO, it's just we are just limiting the problem. However, it's everyone's problem now.
That's
So
right. That's right.
yeah. So that's why that's why that even I tend every day in my life, even in weekends, I wake up quite earlier than everyone else, so I can focus and isolate myself from noise of communications, WhatsApp, emails, phone calls. I don't want anything new comes, any information comes, so I can focus in what I do and I take proper decisions, because really taking decisions during the day is really very like it's not efficient, and probably it ends up
Absolutely.
with some
Absolutely.
issue.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
it's really that's really very good good chronic problem that the AI is dealing with, and I hope we can come up with some solutions in our to automate some of the
Beautiful.
tasks that we do every day in our life, and we do the best optimization of our time, and yeah, and definitely it will pay off in terms of the
Excellent. Excellent.
outcome and the results.
Okay.
And just what having a question, just if it's this data is available, if we can share them, and definitely we will give you the credit, but just because a lot of good statistics and information
Yes.
that I
Yes.
think
Of
is
course.
interesting.
Of course. I think the team would somehow basically share, or you can email me. I can share. So, but the reflection that you have is good. That basically with that reflection is look at it, you put it very well. So I started from the basically limited managerial attention. So that's what we have. So most of the value is created when you have the time for reflection and thinking about the long term. In the firm, at the high level, managerial level, the value created not basically by looking at the case by case, but by thinking about the long term performance of the firm or such thinking. But there's a managerial limited attention. So, as you said, there are lots of different things to do, and the amount of time that left attention is not only time, it's the attention. Okay, the amount of attention that left for the critical task in the firm is quite limited. So the approach I'm going to take is this: that so how much of that basically high level managerial task could be automated? What is basically left and become quite critical for the future CEO? So that's the rest of the discussion. Thank you so much for basically putting it that way. That's
You're
exactly
welcome.
the direction that I've taken. It's the first time that I present this set of a slide. I might not be able to explain it very well, but that's the direction. So starting from this assumption, or not assumption, this fact that we have limited managerial attention, what basically and the tasks that the CEO, the managers need to deal with it are quite complex and they need time. How much of those tasks could be automated? What is left and what becomes the critical activity of the managers in the future? That's the how I'm going to take it. That was good. That was very good. Can we continue now?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to discuss with you 4 papers, and these 4 papers are the reason I'm going to discuss these 4 papers is, and these are recent papers, because they give us kind of a glimpse of what is going to happen quite basically in near future, and how the job of the managers and the CEOs would actually change quite rapidly, in my view, and then what is basically what will be left for the managers to do, or to put it differently, where managers need to focus on it. Okay. So one paper, paper that I loved it and just came out about a month ago is by a group of researchers from top business school, including Harvard and Wharton Business School. Okay. So these days we have lots of benchmark in assessing AI systems, but most of these benchmark has to do with software, has to do with basically math, or has to do with things like chess. But in business, the kind of challenges that we deal with it, as I said, are open-ended, and basically often the problem are not well defined, and it's different than mathematical problem, it's different than software. So these basically group of researchers, they wanted to see how recent AI system, frontier models, are great at basically analyzing Harvard business cases. So that we have lots of basically Harvard business cases, and what these researchers are trying to do to see, okay, how these frontier models are basically capable of, whether these frontier models are capable of, analyzing effectively Harvard business cases. Harvard business cases, most of them, they deal with real situation, and they try to capture the uncertainty and the complexity of the real world. What is beautiful regarding these Harvard business cases is this, that we have the case itself and also the person who wrote the case and studied the case. It also has created a solution-based manual. So someone like Reza, when I teach a Harvard business case, unlike a student, I have access to the answer. So what this paper basically does is beautiful. It's beautiful. What this paper has done, it has put around 600 Harvard business cases into recent AI-based models and to analyze it. And then it has compared the analysis of the AI system with the analysis of the professor that has written this case. So there's a solution manual for each case. And what these researchers have done, they have basically put more than 600 Harvard business cases into these frontier models to analyze, and then compare the analysis with the human expert analysis. That's basically what they have done. So this is basically really, really interesting case. Really, really interesting case. So although basically they use some basically older model, because the paper takes 2 or 3 years, a year almost to be written and to be published. So they use basically Claude 4.6 or basically, or for example, Gemini Flash 3 that these days no one uses it. So even those basic models, they managed. So for example, Claude managed to basically kumquat 88% close to the basic word, close to the real human, real expert. So for example, if each case study had 100 questions to answer, and Claude actually answered 88 of them. And even basically Gemini Flash, which is basically a low quality model, managed to answer 81%, close to 82% of these questions. And what also basically, and they noticed is this, that as the model basically progressed, as for example, they focused on ChatGPT 4, and then ChatGPT 4.1, ChatGPT 5, ChatGPT 4.5.4, they also gave the same case studies to different generation of models. They gave it first to ChatGPT 4, then 4.1, then basically 5, then 5.4, to see whether over time these models become more capable to analyze Harvard business cases. And the answer was quite magical. You can see the ChatGPT 4 answered around basically 65% of the question, but ChatGPT 5.4 answered close to basically what 87 or 88% of the question. So that's what basically they see. And another basically important result that comes out of this study is this, that if you use all of the models simultaneously, as a kind of an oracle, and as a community of models that help each other, the models can actually, answer 92 or 93% of the question in case studies. So what we learned from this basically, the first basically research that we have is that current models are basically great at analyzing cases and solving cases in the same way that humans basically are capable of doing it. Indeed, when they compare the analysis of these cases with MBA students, basically the system basically was almost, so MBA student answered 44% of the questions, but correctly, but AI system answered close to 92% of them. So that's the first thing. So this is beautiful. So Harvard business cases come quite close to the reality, quite close to the context that the managers deal with it in real life. And we already have evidence that these systems are quite capable. That's basically one piece of basic evidence. Stay with me. I'm going to discuss 4 of them and then draw basically to a conclusion. Okay. This is another paper that I've been basically, I love this paper as well. Again, it's a little bit old. It came out basically 2024. It's 2 years old now. But it's still what basically we see in this paper is quite basically beautiful. It's quite beautiful. Again, so one of the key basically tasks of a manager or CEO is business model generation. So that's at the top level, one of the key basically functions of top CEOs is to come up with a new business model. So business model generation is a top managerial task. That's the first thing. The other one, basically, another activity that we're going to discuss in this paper, it has been discussed, is a strategic decision making. So this paper tried to basically see whether it focuses on 2 major tasks of the top managers or the CEO. The first one is generation of business model generation. That's the first one. The second one is analyzing investment project or evaluating investment project and making investment decision. These are top managerial decisions. So we want to see whether basically this top model, this frontier model that we have are good at basically business model creation or good at analyzing investment project. So what they have done is basically beautiful. They work with a venture capital firm that basically they had access to more than 150 business plan that this venture capital firm received for investment. And so what they have done is this. They have given the first page of this business plan to an AI system, and they have asked the AI system to complete it. So they had more than 150 startup plan, business plan, that this venture capital firm received. They have picked up these 150 and they selected the first page, and then they asked AI to complete it. So the kind of prompt that they use is this one. The following is the first section of a business plan. Write the rest of the business plan in R Markdown and then on and on. So they get the first basic page of a business plan and they ask it to complete it. And then what they have done is this. They anonymized these real business plan created by human. They anonymized the business plan created by human and the business plan created by the machine. They anonymized and they gave it to the expert, 250 experienced investors, to assess these basically business plan based on is the quality and also what and the likelihood that they'll basically receive investment. So you can see here the outcome. So you can see the dotted line has to do with the entrepreneur, basically human-generated business models or business plan, and the thick line are for the basically AI-generated business model. So in terms of the quality, they come quite close to each other. In terms of the likelihood of basically investment, they also almost identical. But these assessments done by the expert, by basically 250 experienced investors. So that's one piece of data that we have. So when it's come to what we see from here is this. When it's come to business model development, business plan development, and AI system are basically quite capable. But look at this. They use ChatGPT 3.5, which is quite old, and no one actually uses that one. This is study basically done almost 3 years ago, more than 3 years ago, but AI system have advanced quite significantly since then. Another basically beautiful study in this paper, which is quite interesting, is this, and that's fascinating. It's about basically investment decisions. investment decisions. Okay, so in investment decision, you have to evaluate the project and then make a decision whether to invest or not. Okay. So what basically they have done is that, again, they work with basically a startup, as I said. In this case, they have 138 basically business plan evaluated by the VC, the venture capital firm. And so they had their business plan and they had the evaluation by the venture capital firms. And they gave the same business plan to basically AI to evaluate it and basically assess whether the business plan is investable or not. So humans look at basically VCs, they look at the top management team, they look at the financials, they look at the other aspect of the plan, and on that basis, they basically they decide to invest. So they gave this type of prompt to the system that you are an experienced venture capitalist. You have also written a textbook on how to make successful investment in the startups, companies, and have taught a course based on it in the MBA program. Your textbook builds on practical experience as well as academic research developed in the field of strategy and entrepreneurship. And then they based on this basically system prompt, they ask, okay, to evaluate a business plan, whether this is investable or not, and give it a mark from 0 to 100. Again, what we see in the data is this. Again, what we see, okay, so look at the first one. On the horizontal line, we have the VC score, the score basically given by the VC venture capital firm. And on the vertical line, we have the AI score. So we can see that there's a kind of a 45-degree line that basically shows almost a close to one-to-one relationship. So the VC score and the AI score come quite close to each other. And then basically we see the same data in a different way. The distribution of the values, the score generated by the VC and generated by the machine are almost identical. So when it's come to business model generation and then assessment of the business project and evaluating whether the business plan is investable or not. So what the experimental data shows is that even older generation of AI model come quite close to human and they do an effectively good job. Okay, that's one. Okay. The third one is quite interesting. Let me basically briefly go through it. The third one is also quite interesting. Is the paper basically just came a few months ago. What the paper has done is this. Okay, what the paper has done is beautiful. I imagine the majority in the audience, they know Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a platform, is an online platform where new businesses go there and they try to crowdfund and basically finance their businesses in that way. Okay, the data come from TechCrunch, from Kickstarter, and has to do with a project, basically a startup project or product project that goes on a Kickstarter and they basically seek funding. Okay. What this paper has done is beautiful. It's really beautiful. So they looked at so these basic AI models, they have the data up to a point. For example, Gemini have been basically Gemini 3.1 trained by using the data that ended in December 2025. So Gemini 3.1, for example, doesn't know anything about 2026. The same with OpenAI or cloud, there's a kind of a cutoff that when you train the data, the system does not know what after that cutoff. What these basic guys have done is quite fascinating. They have picked up basically the project that came onto basically after the cutoff point on Kickstarter, and they asked this AI model to predict whether this project succeed or not. So they selected a good number of basically Kickstarter project after the cutoff point, and they gave the description of this project to AI to predict whether this project would succeed, receive funding or not. And also they gave the description to human expert to predict whether basically the project would succeed or how much funding it will raise. And they also gave the same basically information to investors. Look at this. In this case, AI came up with the most accurate prediction. Here we have the actual what would happen to this project, and so we know at the end what happened to the project, and then what happened to the project, and we also have the prediction. So the red one is comparing the AI predicted outcome with the actual outcome. The blue one is comparing the human expert prediction with the actual basically outcome, and the other one is the green one, are the investors. You can see that the red line, the Gemini 2.5, an old model, come quite close to the 45-degree line. Unlike, for example, the human basically investors or human expert. So the red line come quite close, come quite close to the 45-degree line, and it generated a better prediction. This exercise is such a fundamental exercise because here we basically the paper focuses on cases that the AI system did not know about it. So these cases came to Kickstarter after the cutoff point. The system did not have any knowledge of the cases, but still, as we can see, Gemini 2.5 did a superbly great job, better than basically human expert and better than human human investors. And again, this is a different way to look at the data. Basically actual value and then basically the prediction. Okay. So one more case, and before basically stop for the question, I need another 10 minutes to finish the discussion. Hopefully, my apologies take longer. This case I discussed in a different talk as well, but I think it's a very important basically case, and it's telling us how the future actually look like. This is a beautiful paper, it's still basically being revised, and there's a new version 2026. What this paper tried to do is to basically build a digital replica of professional forecaster. So what this paper tried to do is to build digital replica or simulate professional forecasters. Who are these professional forecasters? Okay. So the central bank in the US multiple basically carries out multiple surveys, and these surveys are basically sent to professionals. So, for example, the head of the Goldman Sachs, the head of, for example, Morgan Stanley, and other basically professionals. And the survey asks, and this is a regular survey, the survey asks these professionals to predict the future state of the economy. For example, to predict what will be the inflation next year, what will be the inflation basically next month, or employment, or interest rate, and these things. So central bank in the US, it basically have a survey of professional forecasters, and these are normally those who have basically are in business in top position, and every basically 2 or 3 months they reply to these surveys. Okay. What this paper has done is a beautiful exercise. We don't have time to go to basically discuss it in detail, but the paper is freely available. Take a snapshot and go and read it. It tells actually a lot about how the future look like when it comes to the CEOs and when it comes to the manager. What this paper has done is this. They have basically went and identified these forecasters, and they built a profile for each forecaster, each person. For example, what is their age, what is their gender, what is their education, what is the work experience, in which firm they worked, in which part of the US basically they are positioned, whether they have international experience or not. And in this way, they build a digital persona of the forecaster. And then what they have done, they fed the data, current data, into these basically persona, these AI agent, and asked them to predict inflation next year and interest rate next year, or for example, so on and on. So what basically this is what is fascinating, what is really fascinating. So for example, they asked them to, they asked this AI agent, they gave the historical data that these humans have access to, and they gave the current economic data that these real human agents have access to. They gave these basic data to the AI agent. But AI agent have a personality, have a persona. For example, there is one AI agent exactly like the person, the CEO of BlackRock, with the same characteristics in terms of height, gender, education, experience, everything. So they feed these data into this AI agent, and they ask this AI agent to actually predict, for example, unemployment rate. So what we see here, there are two basically lines here. The gray one is the human forecast, and then the black one is the AI one. You can see that AI and AI agent are actually quite close to each other. It's very difficult to tell them apart. Or for example, look at this one. So the real GDP, what is the GDP next quarter or next year? Again, the two lines, the real human prediction and AI agent prediction are quite close to each other, almost difficult to tell them apart. The same basically when it's come to basically interest rate, basically TB basically rate of the human and AI come close to each other. What do we basically learn from this is this. What we learn from this exercise is this, that we can actually build AI agent with the same characteristics that the Steve Jobs had. That's the same characteristics that basically Elon Musk have. And then fit data that Elon Musk has access to, data that Steve Jobs has access to, and based on that, ask them a strategic question, a strategic basically problem, and see how they solve it. We can actually build basically what? Synthetic expert or synthetic CEOs, a panel of synthetic expert or a panel of synthetic CEOs, so that any problem that we try to deal with it, we have the opinion from 10, 20, 30 different CEOs. And what we have with the data tell us, actually the prediction of these synthetic CEOs are more likely to be quite close to the way that Steve Jobs basically taught. Imagine you basically, that's one of the projects that we are working on it in Manchester at the moment. So we're feeding all the books written about Steve Jobs. Imagine you have 10 books on Steve Jobs. You feed basically these books into an AI agent, and the AI agent actually learn the way that Steve Jobs taught about this problem. And now you can give Steve Jobs a new strategic question and basically see how Steve Jobs addressed these strategic questions. So these are the basically different things that basically different data that we have. Okay, let's see. Okay, I need 5 or 6 more minutes to bring the discussion to a close, but let's see if there is any question, please.
Yes, so we do have questions here, Dr. Reza. One is from Prisha Bula.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, how much should CEOs be expected to understand about AI systems before they can responsibly deploy them?
So that's one of the, I mean, the open-ended questions is like, it's difficult to say that how much. I think that, so that's in a sense, okay, I'll come back to this question in 5 minutes, because that's the direction that I'm going to go. It's not about necessarily technical expertise, because technical expertise could be hired, It's about something else that I'm trying to basically highlight. The question is very well stated question, but we need to distinguish between technical expertise that you need to actually set up this system. Of course, the CEO can hire technical expert to set up the system. It's about the how to deal with the output of this system. So, for example, they can hire me, and I can basically build 20 synthetic CEOs and give it to the firm. That technical expertise could be outsourced. What is really critical, how the CEO need to deal with the output of these AI agent, is the how to deal with the output. That's more critical, and for that you need something special, as I'm going to discuss. Any other questions?
Thank you, Professor. Another one is from Sangit Shirodkar. The question is it ethical for CEOs to use various GPTs available for deriving strategy and data analysis?
Of course, I think so. Would it be meaningful to ask whether it is ethical for the CEOs to use calculator to do calculations? I imagine it would. Would it be basically ethical for the CEO to use a textbook on finance or textbook on a strategy to actually learn how to deal with the situation? It would be. So these type of technologies that we have, these are in a sense at the most basic level on knowledge search technologies. You search Google to basically find information, but these systems are they are knowledge search technologies. They are more capable search engine. At that level is definitely basically ethical. But I think is about, so the another way to put this question: what are the governance rules that a firm need to put in place so to basically to use this system responsibly? So it's legal definitely, and it's ethical, but that doesn't mean that we don't need ethical principles. We don't need governance principle. These are some of the discussion that we're going to basically
Yes,
reflect.
sir. And a follow up as well, sir. Should CEOs look at agentic AI for enhancing productivity?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If they don't do in the future, they will lose. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Good.
Yes, Pia from the
Doctor, I
chat.
do.
Okay,
Yes, we
so
do have
one more question.
a
Yes, please.
question.
Yes,
Sure.
please.
So this is from Mohammed Wassel. If AI becomes better than humans at identifying where resources are likely to generate the greatest value, should leaders still retain final allocation authority? And if so, what should justify overriding the AI recommendation?
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Okay, so that's the rest of the slide. The rest of the slide is moving toward that direction, so we can come to some of these questions. That's the direction. That's good. Let me 5 minutes basically bring the discussion to a close. So look, basically what we have started. Let me give you basically a summary of what we have started. Is the first point that we had is limited managerial attention. And basically in real life, CEOs basically have a limited time to think about a strategic question. That's the first thing. The second basically element of the discussion that we had, there's emerging evidence that AI systems are capable of actually tackling key element of strategic decisions, like for example, business model generation, investment analysis, or discussing or analyzing case studies, or the Kickstarter case that we discussed. In the case of Kickstarter, there's a fascinating paper because these are investment project. Investment project is difficult to predict whether succeed or not. But in this case, even though there is enormous uncertainty, AI system, because it has access to an immensely large stock of knowledge, they come up with better prediction. So AI system have the capability to assist with strategic development and strategic thinking, as we discussed. Okay. How we conceptualize it. Okay, let me put it in this way again. So as an MBA student, you learn a number of tools for strategy development and strategy thinking. So one of them is scenario planning. Or if you have done MBA, the Michael Porter 5 Forces, devil advocate, wisdom of the crowd. These are different tools that we teach to our MBA students to use for actually a strategy development and for a strategy evaluation. So scenario planning generate possible scenarios for the future and consequently possible strategies. Michael Porter 5 Forces enable basically the manager to analyze the sector systematically and on that basis figure out the right strategy. The devil advocate, normally the CEOs in real life, they send a strategic plan to other friends, to the consultant, to consultancy firm for criticism and evaluation. And also wisdom of the crowd. Often basically firms, they try to outsource ideas from within the firm or from outside the firm. These are different strategic tools that basically we teach our MBA students, we teach our managers to use for strategy development. One way to basically building on the discussion that we have, one way to think of the contribution of AI to managerial decision-making, to the CEO decision-making is this, that AI can automate scenario planning, can automate basically the Michael Porter's 5 Forces, can function as a devil advocate, can function as the wisdom of crowd. And the data tell us that actually they can do a job much better than human. That's one of the key channels. This is for sure. That's one of the important channels through which AI actually would contribute to managerial decision making is through automating these tools that we have, these powerful exploratory tools that we have for a strategic development and a strategic evaluation. That's what we have. Okay. So things are not that easy. Okay, so I'm going to discuss this for 2 or 3 minutes. I finish the discussion. One key concept that we have in the literature at the moment is called jagged technological frontiers. So AI system, even cloud, the latest basically open AI, whatever you think, they are good at certain tasks, but they are basically weak at other tasks. So for example, earlier studies showed that the frontier models, they are good at software, they are good at some mathematical problems, but they are not basically good at analyzing how about business cases or open-ended cases. This concept has been called in the literature a jagged technological frontier. So look at, for example, look at the dotted line. Think of that as the technology frontier, and then basically some of the tasks that we have. The blue line as a basically jagged technological frontier that represent the capabilities of an AI system, but some basically problems are outside this system. Some problems are within the capability of this system. That's the concept of jagged technology frontiers. So to put it differently, this AI system that we have, and possibly it will be the same in the future, they don't have uniform capabilities. They are good at certain tasks, but they are not necessarily good at everything task. Okay, this raises a question. So there are some studies, but these studies have done with older model. We don't know how much they are reliable. So as I said, in the old days, these systems were not capable of analyzing Harvard business cases, but these days they are basically able to analyze these Harvard business cases. So one important thing to basically pay attention to it is the concept of jagged technological frontier. And what is the implication is that when it comes to a strategy, when it comes to strategic thinking, we might always have certain challenges that are outside the current capabilities of the technological capabilities. Okay. What does it mean? What is the implication of this? The implication of it is that, so on the one hand, that's basically one of the fundamental slides that we have. Almost basically, this slide captures the essence of what I've been trying to convey to my beautiful audience is this. So we can see that AI is capable of automating many strategic decisions. That's one. We looked at the literature, we looked at the data. AI is quite capable of automating a diverse set of strategic decisions and strategic activities, like in investment analysis, investment evaluation, business model generation, predicting whether an investment project would succeed or not. But at the same time, these models that we have, they don't have uniform capabilities. They are more capable of certain tasks, but they are weak at other tasks. When we put these ideas together, what does it mean? It means that what has become quite critical increasingly is the ability to assess the outcome of AI system. And that we call basically verification. So verification is the ultimate complement to abundant intelligence. These systems give us basically intelligence at a low price, almost at a zero cost. But that basically raises a different issue, is the ability to verify the outcome of this system before actually trusting them and before using them. This becomes the most critical skill that a new CEO needs to have. If someone asks me, Reza, based on the discussion that we have, what is the most critical skill that the CEO actually need to develop in the future, is the verification capability. Is that basically you see the outcome of an AI system, the ability to assess that outcome and verify that outcome is the critical skill that the CEO needs to do. This is also in the case of a strategy that's more challenging, because in the case of math, we know how to actually check whether the outcome is correct or not. In the case of software, it's easy to check whether the outcome is correct or not. But in the case of a strategy, it's open-ended. We need basically CEOs with deep knowledge of the sector, with deep human capital, that are capable of verifying and assessing the outcome of the AI system, and on that basis, use it in practice. To summarize is this: AI actually can automate many aspects of managerial decisions and basically speed up the process and reduce the managerial the time constraint, the attention constraint that the CEO basically have. But something becomes quite critical. And what is that? Verification capabilities. But what type of CEOs would have verification capabilities? Those who have deep knowledge, deep expertise, deep knowledge of the sector. That's the kind of CEO that they would succeed in the future. So that's my last slide. Is this okay? So put it this way, okay? We basically need CEOs that basically capable of visionary sense making. That's the kind of CEO that we need. As I said, CEO that AI. Let's look at the historical data, and based on the historical data, basically make a prediction. Okay. But sometimes basically great CEOs are those that they see the future differently and they shape the future. This type of CEOs would basically quite extremely valuable in the future. Okay, I'm going to basically stop here so that we have some time for the discussion. But my apologies. I'm not basically used to sit down and teach, but this time I sat down and teach. But let's see. I hope I managed to convey a few valuable points.
Thank you very much, Professor. So let's proceed with the Q&A for some questions from the chat box and from our Q&A box as well. Pia?
Yes. So there's another question from Mohammed, Dr. Reza. As generative AI becomes increasingly capable of analysis and recommendation, where should we draw the line between AI supported decisions making and human leadership judgment?
So they are not substitute, they are complement. That's basically the way I put it. Is this? So, for example, when it comes to business models, basically choosing a business model that's a simple case. Okay, so basically coming up with a business model has multiple stages. One basic stage, you think of a different business model and generating different business model. That could be basically given to AI and automated quite basically easily. But then business model selection needs contextual knowledge, the knowledge of the context. And often AI does not have that contextual knowledge. That's here where the CEO and the top management team comes in. So when it comes to business model generation, there are multiple basic stages in that process. But one of the stages that in the past was quite time consuming is that the CEO come up with different basically business model and then select one of them. The generation would come from CEO, but the generation come from AI, but the selection come from basically where come from basically from the human. So there's a kind of a division of labor, and so and what type of basically where I mean in the future where human would be quite relevant, where there's a selection issue, when there's a verification issue. So when it comes to verification, when it comes to selection, often we need basically what? Contextual knowledge, deep industry knowledge. In this type of cases, human become relevant, but before this stage, everything else could actually given to AI system.
Thank you, Dr. Reza. We have one more here. How do you ensure there is no over reliance in AI and still retain critical thinking when using these tools as a CEO?
There is, I think we have to stop basically using the concept of over reliance or low reliance. It's about verification. Whether basically the CEO has the capability to analyze the outcome of the AI system or not. Is about the existence or the lack of capability is key. So when basically, as a consequence of the emergence of basically these technologies and the abundance of intelligence, the verification become quite critical. If the CEO basically, as long as the CEO have, adequate skill to assess the outcome of AI and then on that basis act, that's basically the right approach to do it. And if a CEO doesn't have that skill, actually, even if they don't use AI, they get it wrong. So I don't think that the concept of over-reliance is a useful concept. The right concept is whether the CEO have the skill to assess the outcome of AI model. That's the better way of thinking for the managers and for the MBA student.
Beautiful verification then. And another one for me, Dr. Reza. How can AI predict the next economical forecast with the heavy uncertainty we live now? Even CEOs face those questions every day and can't put proper answers.
So it's this. CEOs should not think about basically, okay, so that's a different issue that we discuss in the MBA classes, is whether the future is a prediction problem or the design problem. At the managerial level, the CEO need to design the firm in such a way that they are resilient to basically economic recessions and economic disruption in the future. So part of the solution is not about the prediction, it's about basically designing the firm in a resilient way that can sail through a deep recession or, for example, a deep financial crisis. So that's quite an important point. For managers, the future to a large extent is a design problem, not a prediction problem. That's point one. Point two. So often we basically, the way that the managers should think is not about predicting whether there will be a recession or not. Often what the managers basically need is predicting different possible scenarios and assessing which scenarios are more likely and which scenarios are less likely. And for doing that, we have lots of evidence that AI systems are basically more capable of ordinary human, of thinking of different scenarios and using background information to assess which scenario is possibly more plausible. They never basically predict which scenario would happen, but they give you a narrow set of plausible scenarios that the manager can actually use and think about it.
Thank you, Dr. Reza. Ronald, do you have questions for your side?
Yes, Dr. Reza from Joseph Sabaga.
Yes, please.
The question is, as AI becomes capable of performing more of the analytical work of a CEO, how should CEOs distinguish between decisions that can be delegated to AI and decisions that must remain human?
So if everything is about, so I have a slide. Let me, if I'm going to share my slide for a second, which is a good question. My apologies, but I'll remove it quite quickly. Okay, so there's a slide that I passed it because I was worried that it took long. Okay, this is a very basically important point. Could you see my slide now? Yeah. What can be measured, AI will automate it. Is everything is about the data. So that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. So the bottom line is about whether basically in that context we have adequate data, and whether data is of high quality, then that we can basically automate it. So there are two things. The first one is the presence of data and the quality data, and the second one is a trade-off, how risky that decision is. Sometimes the system has kind of a tolerance that even if there's a mistake at the start, when you start applying that system, that mistake is not basically that harmful or not that damaging. So, and then the system can absorb basically AI mistakes. So in the same way that when we have, for example, a junior and you give basically some decision to the junior and they might make a mistake, but the system is resilient, can absorb it, and over time that basically the system learn. The same approach we need to have basically with AI system is, so basically look at the driverless car. Why basically the project of driverless car has taken so basically long to develop it? Because there are certain basic cases that mistakes, errors are so costly. So you basically, God forbid, the car basically hit the person. That's high risk. But in many contexts, almost in 90% of the context, the risk actually quite low. So there are two parts to my answer. The first one is you have to basically think of a trade-off, risk and benefit. And sometimes the risk is basically low and the system can absorb it. And the second one is, of course, wherever we have data and the data is high quality, we need to have a greater confidence in the AI system.
Thank you, Professor. Next question. You mentioned technical hiring to build the system, but what about the analytical workforce? Do you see business leaders outsourcing this function to AI as it gets
Beautiful,
more accurate and
beautiful,
reliable in the near
beautiful question.
future?
Beautiful question. This discussion that we have is new to me and new to the literature, and there are lots of basic questions that we don't know. One concept that is basically emerging is the concept of AI native firm. And there's a beautiful paper have been just came out and with the same title, AI native firms. And those who are basically listening, they can actually search that paper on the web and read it. So how basically an AI native firm look like? A firm that is capable of built around AI and can use AI quite basically effectively. So one result that we have from the literature is that you need a good mass of basically employees that are quite AI friendly. Without having that, and the firm would not be able to um, capitalize on the opportunities that AI offer. That's one paper. Another paper that look at the data is this: the managerial mindset, the AI capability that we have in the top management team is also quite another important factor. I might not have basically answered your question, but is a mechanical outsourcing is not the solution. It's actually building a mass of basically human capital that is AI friendly and they know these technologies within the firm. That's where the competitive advantage comes. So these AI system, all the firms have access to it. So everyone can use Claude or ChatGPT or whatever. Where the competitive advantage come from? The competitive advantage come from the human capital that the firm have, the complementary organizational capabilities that the firm have, the managerial capability and the mindset that the firm have. Technology on its own is not the source of competitive advantage. It's something else. It's the combination of these basically human capital, managerial skill, and the mindset and other organizational capabilities combined with AI that become a source of competitive advantage.
Thank you, Professor. So we're about a bit conscious about the time. So I have one last question here from Paolo Lustri. So the question is, if verification capability is becoming so important, how should an experienced finance professional develop it? How technical do we need to become to validate AI outputs effectively? And what kind of tools do we need to know?
Beautiful, beautiful. Do I have a full answer to these questions? The answer is no. So, as I said, I mean, verification has become an important concept over the last 2 years. So, if you look at the AI literature 2 or 3 years ago, we didn't have that concept. But these days, basically, everyone is talking about. Okay, so let me use an analogy. So, the context that this question is talking about is that we have basically a finance expert that I mean have been in this profession for 10 years, 15 years with lots of experience. Imagine you hire a junior and basically you delegate part of this task that you have to the junior. How do you actually assess what the person has done? You use basically your skill that you have, the human capital that you have, and all the other things that you have learned over the last 10, 15 years to assess the outcome. So this analogy actually helps here. The same way that you deal with the junior, the same way an expert needs to basically deal with an AI system. So the same is basically resources that you need to quickly assess what the junior has done, the same skill that you need for assessing an AI basically outcome. So that's the kind of analogy that I see it. So, for example, myself, most of the papers that we mark basically in the university, although we are changing, but until very recently, a student used to use AI system to generate their paper. So how do we assess these papers? We had lots of experience. We knew that basically, for example, how an undergraduate student write a paper and how AI write a paper, and we use that skill to assess the paper. That's how we do. So a lot of it is our tacit knowledge that you develop. There's a lot of this basically kind of intuitive knowledge that you have developed over many, many years. But in some cases, we have basically we have basically principles against which we can actually do the verification. So in math, in chess, in software, we basically we have some objective criteria or principle to do the verification. So, for example, in software, what they do normally software, complex software are developed in pieces, and each piece basically is tested whether it basically does the function or not, and then you add it to the system. So these are the kind of observation that I have at the moment, but I don't have a full answer to your question. It's a beautiful question, but the analogy between you as an experienced person and a junior, how do you actually evaluate and validate or verify what a junior has created? The same analogy apply to basically to you and when you use AI.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reza, for sharing your expertise with us this evening.
Most welcome.
And
Thank you so much.
thank you, everyone who joined and engaged with us tonight. If tonight's discussion has sparked your interest in going deeper into these topics, Dr. Reza is one of our amazing academics who teaches in the Global MBA program. So, in many ways, tonight's masterclass gives you a taste of the kind of conversations and thinking that takes place within our learning environment. If you'd like to learn more about the programs we offer, we invite you to join our Open Hour program or Open Hour, which takes place every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon UAE time, where you can speak directly with our team, with our program counselors, ask questions, and explore which program might be right for you. So I'm inviting you to
Ronald,
scan the QR code quickly and to register. Yes,
Ronald,
Professor.
someone is going to say something. So Muhammad, I think, is going to say something, and So let him speak as well, Muhammad. Yeah, Ayub. Yeah.
Yes, sorry. Yes, Muhammad, Muhammad Ayub Fadil.
Fadil.
Can you unmute yourself, please?
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So, Ronald, thank you for enrolling me to the MBA back in 2024. I'm a graduated from Global MBA in July 2026. I just have my master degree, and I just want to say that if there is if attending the workshop of Dr. Reza is the only reason for you guys to enroll, please do it because you will enjoy it, and at least you will know why Porter is unlucky.
Thank you, Muhammad.
Muhammad.
Thank you. My apologies. My apologies.
So,
Thank you so much.
thank
That's
you
very
very
kind
much,
of you.
Doctor. I just I had some interviews this summer for hopefully for a CEO position, and your class, your workshop for strategy SNCB was a key actually to sit with those
Thank you
guys
so much.
and
Oh,
discuss with them at that level of talking about strategy and talking about corporate design and all that stuff that
that's
we.
very kind.
So this is just a testimonial, I would say, to end up this nice discussion. So thank you again.
But you know
Congratulations.
that from the bottom of my heart, our student is our best asset. You give us the life and the meaning
Yeah.
and everything. So thank you so much, Muhammad.
Yeah, Dr. Reza says it's weird seeing him sitting and giving this presentation, because if you attend the workshop, he will not be sitting in the and you will see something else. So I will keep it as a surprise.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you and congratulations, Muhammad. May
Thank you,
I ask,
Ronald.
Absolutely.
may I
Best
ask
of luck,
Muhammad?
Best of luck.
Yes, Doctor. May I ask Muhammad Kamal to unmute yourself, please?
I
Yeah.
have one
Hi.
of the past student, Mustafa, as well. So there are three of them. Yes, please.
Hi, Dr. Reza. It's nice to see you again. I was your MBA student 2017 to 19.
Absolutely.
Okay, hope you remember me still. And it was nice to
Take care
see
of
you.
yourself. I remember very well. I remember your business, everything. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So, no, I don't know. I have a question, which is that how we can enhance the verification capability in the age of AI. I know we comment, but more specifically, I don't know if we have a time or no.
To be honest with you, is there is no, how do you build your human capital? So I think what is basic comes out of the discussion that we have, and that's basically the literature that I'm exposed to, is really everything is about human capital. So the initial thinking was that because of AI, human capital become less important. But because verification capabilities have become more important, then human capital has to become important. So the way it is, a combination of a CEO and AI can do much, much more. But to do that, the CEO need to have basically human capital. So, for example, knowing a bit about finance, knowing about the strategy, reading a strategy textbook, playing with the case studies, these are different ways that you can enhance it. So any way that you can enhance your human capital, then of course you can enhance your verification capabilities. But drop a line. I have your email. You have my email. Drop a line. I would be able to do something else. Okay.
Okay, for sure.
Good.
Final one, Dr. Reza, Mustafa Mizban. Can you unmute yourself, please?
It was Mustafa was talking. I think Muhammad Kamal need to talk now.
Yes, actually. Yeah.
That's right. Muhammad, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Thank you so much. Not bad.
It's again, it's interesting lecture, and I believe we may stay up to midnight because a lot of questions and a lot of curiosity, actually, to be honest. But actually, I just wanted to add like a reflection on the discussion about one of the gentlemen asked about about is it ethical to use AI for CEOs and all of this. I just have a like a response to this. Like it's
Beautiful.
AI is available and it's available to everyone. So if for anyone, if you are not using it, this is your problem. This is your own ignorance. These things are available to everyone as long as it's there. You can use it, and it definitely is ethical to use it. Like if we have the same question about when they already invented the calculator, maybe 78 years ago. So can we blame some people why you're using the calculator or the computer when they started inventing the computer? Definitely no. So this is a knowledge, this is a tool, and I believe definitely is the verification is it's really something very important. Not only the verification, how efficient you are using the tools, the AI. This is all something that it differs from person to another. This come from practice and also this intelligence of everyone definitely is going to differ. It doesn't mean that everyone AI is available to everyone. It means everyone going to get the same outcome from the AI tool. Absolutely not. There will be always differences, and there will be also always good, bad, and excellent, and that kind of thing. And the most important thing about human, the things that nobody can take away from human, is a judgment, is a power of judgment. That is something that always AI will not give you. AI will give you a lot of, sometimes give you trade-off, sometimes make mistakes, has glitches, and all of this one. So as long as a human they already have judgment, there will always be a need for human to use them.
Let me summarize that beautiful point that Muhammad says in this way. Is this, look at this. Sometimes I basically put it in this way. Imagine Reza sit beside basically a field medal top mathematician. What type of conversation I could have with a top mathematician? Little. The conversation would be very little. But what would happen to the conversation if two mathematicians sit next to each other? Two top mathematicians, the conversation actually would be different. This analogy is true of the AI system as well. So if basically imagine the more knowledgeable you are, the more you can get out of this system. Exactly. The more basically skillful the CEO is, the more they can get out of this system. In the future, who basically put the right question to the system, these are the winners. The CEO that they have deep knowledge, deep expertise, are more likely to be able to put basically more interesting, fundamental question to the system and then get the right answer.
Exactly.
So this analogy is one of the most beautiful analogies that I have come across. That think of two mathematicians, what type of discussion would have, two top scientists, what type of basically conversation would have. The AI system is a top mathematician. The AI system is a top scientist, a top basic manager. If you want to have a fruitful conversation, you need to lift up basically your own knowledge and human capital. So I think with this, we're going to bring the discussion to a close. Am I right, Ronald?
Yes, thank you very much. So we're a bit conscious about time, and we know how we love Dr. Reza, especially all our MBA students who experience his teaching, especially about.
My apologies. I didn't do a good job because I did not sleep last night. So I decided to sit down and I had a tablet before coming here. But these students deserve more. Okay, good.
Thank you, Dr. Reza.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
So if you'd like to learn more about our programs we offer here at the University of Manchester, Dubai, so we would like to invite you all to join our open hour, which takes place every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. UAE time. So I'll be inviting you to scan the QR code on the screen to register.
Thank you to everyone. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Yeah.
And of course, tonight is not the end of the conversations, as we want you to continue your learning journey with us. So first, for those interested in exploring the world of MA educational leadership, we invite you to join our upcoming information session happening on 17th August at 7 p.m. And of course, if you're looking forward to continuing with our second season of the masterclass series, we also have Dr. Stefan Zagelmeyer joining us on the 24th September for a fascinating session on geopolitics and international business in the Middle East. So to register for either of these sessions, simply scan the QR code on your screen. And of course, we look forward to welcoming you back for another inspiring learning experience with us.
As we come to the end of this evening, let's return to where we began. What does leadership look like when CEOs can work alongside a new generation of AI powered experts? As we've explored tonight, AI is not simply changing the tools available to leaders. It is changing how we think about decision making, strategy, organizations, and leadership itself. But perhaps the key takeaway is that the future isn't about choosing between people and technology. It is about understanding how the two can work together.
Absolutely correct, Ronald. And AI can analyze, AI can predict, AI can challenge our thinking, but leadership still requires judgment, responsibility, and purpose. And that is why the leaders of tomorrow won't just need to understand technology, they'll need to know how to lead alongside it. We hope tonight's masterclass has given you new perspectives, sparked some question, and perhaps encouraged you to think differently about your own leadership journey. And if you'd like to continue that journey with us, we invite you to stay connected with the University of Manchester, Dubai, explore our upcoming masterclasses, and learn more about our programs. You can also scan the QR codes on the screen to follow us on our social media and stay updated on our latest events and opportunities. And while you're at it, we would be incredibly grateful if you could snap a quick review for us on Google. Your feedback helps us constantly elevate these sessions for our growing community. Once again, my name is Pia Silvan, and it has been a pleasure being part of tonight's conversation. And I hope to see many of you again at another University of Manchester Dubai event very, very soon.
Thank you, Pia. And as we celebrate 20 years of excellence, we remain committed to empowering leaders with the knowledge, confidence, and global perspective to navigate change, embrace innovation, and shape the future. Because the future of leadership will not be defined by AI alone, it will be defined by the leaders who know how to lead with it. And as we look ahead, we hope you will continue learning, questioning, and evolving with us. With stronger ideas, stronger impact, stronger future, stronger together. On behalf of our founding director, Randa Besiso, Dr. Reza Salehnejad, and the entire team of the University of Manchester, Dubai, thank you once again for being with us this evening. I'm Ronald Sarmiento, wishing you a wonderful evening ahead. Stay safe, keep learning, keep evolving, and we look forward to welcoming you to another University of Manchester Dubai event very soon. Good evening, everyone.